Hi everybody, it's Donna from Purple Pinky Promises. Thanks for stopping by to watch our project for today. All right, I have a load of stuff to show you today, and we're going to start off with the Wavy Framelits from Dare to Be Artsy. Now, all of these measurements that I have for this project will be listed in the description on Facebook. It is listed up above, and on YouTube it's listed below. So what I'm doing here is I'm using I'm using a Stamparatus from Stampin' Up. I find that this little mechanism works really great for the project that I'm working on today. And we are featuring this darling little set from Concord and 9th. And it is called Color Me Happy. We're using most of the stamps today, and we will be using one of the dies that coordinate with this set. Okay, so I have lined up my stamp in the Stamparatus, and it is on the, I believe I missed it there, but I believe it's the third little hole up, or yeah, third hole or second hole up. I'll look at it here in a second and tell you. And I've used some Versafine, not Versafine, but Versamark ink, so that I could take that wonderful, yummy Distress Embossing Glaze to it. We've used Candied Apple first, and then I'm going to heat it up with the heat tool. Now what this Stamparatus does is help me evenly distribute all of my stamp marks on this. So now I'm going to move it down one more time. So I did have it on the third, I moved it down to the second, and then now down to the first. And so now I have evenly spaced marks on this. And you'll see I do have a little bit of extra room at the bottom compared to the top on this one. However, it actually ends up working for the project that I'm working on for this particular little card. I'm giving it a little bit more of an embossing powder to help break down that static on there so we don't have little stray embossing flicks. So now I have a space in between that I know is evenly distributed, so I'm going to stamp it by hand. I don't have the amount, the number or the size of movement on that Stamparatus that I want to make it close together, so I end up going in between, and I'm stamping it and embossing it. And now I'm taking some Versafine Clair ink, my favorite black ink. Oh man, it's crisp and wonderful. And usually the first time around, it works. And I've turned it to the other side. I'm stamping it. And I'm going to go to the back side now and stamp it on the opposite side. So I've got 4 corners used up. And I actually started out wanting to only do 4 little cards. These cards actually measure to be... let's see, I never really did take a measurement on the actual cards themselves. The card bases themselves are 3 and 3 1/8 by 3 1/8, and but the actual cards themselves with that, I will make sure I put that in the description below for YouTube and up above for Facebook. I'll get you the final measurement on these cards and all the measurements for everything. So, okay, so now I love how this sentiment is so nicely spaced that you can actually cut it up like this. And you can basically move around your sentiment and create a different sentiment on every card. And you'll see that I've done that with this particular card set. So we have a set of 5 cards. I started out thinking, oh, 4, but then I changed my mind. I have 5 colors for this. The 5 colors that are used in this project, so I won't keep going back over it again. You'll see it flash on the screen from time to time, but the colors that I'm using are Candied Apple and Wild Honey, Salvaged Patina, Twisted Citron, and Wilted Violet. So now what I'm doing here is I'm taking that sentiment and I'm going to actually stamp it up in all of the colors that I've used for this project. There we have the Wild Honey. And here's what you could do if you're using a Misty. You just basically count how many quarters of an inch that you're moving that up. And here I've moved it up a total of 3 3/4 of an inch each time so that I get it nicely spaced so that I can actually cut these out and get a nice cut with them. So here you are. Here's the little view of all the colors I've used here. And I am going to cut these apart. I do end up using, scissors by hand to trim off each end and to separate the color and me, because we are going to use both of these words in different ways. I thought it would be cute to really, give that word color a little pop, but later we're going to give me, the word me, a little pop of color as well. And essentially what I've done with each of these cards is I have raised a sentiment, and then the next word, erased the first word in the sentiment with some double-sided adhesive foam. The second word, I've actually just laid it flat, and I've alternated between dimension, flat, as you can see here as I turn this card to at an angle that you can see. I'm using an alternating flat and dimension, or starting out dimension, flat. So that's kind of the process that I used for that. And here we go again, using the Stamparatus to get a number of different colored hearts and getting them evenly dispersed on here so that I can die cut them out. It's nice to be able to move that that hinged stamp side so that you can move it around. Now, again, in a MISTI, you would just move the paper versus the actual stamp portion. Okay, I don't know what we call that. So now we're going to run all of those through and die cut them. And here we are. And I'm going to add that little heart there at the end. So that's why that kind of worked out just fine to have that extra space at the bottom. That way I had room for the word world, and you could still see that purple. So it wouldn't cover up the purple. So it works. Okay, next we're going to get that skinny line. And we are going to create something really fun. And I do want to point out here, we're getting powder on there to make sure we don't have a lot of static and stray embossing powder. So I do want to mention on this that what I created here, if I were to do this over, I would move it in even further than what I'm showing you here to get a real tic-tac-toe effect. So what I really wanted to do was create a little tic-tac-toe board and put 3 hearts all down at a diagonal and kind of float some sentiments here and there in other spots. But because I put it too far out to the sides, and again, we're embossing, we're taking the heat tool to the embossing and glaze, and we're using embossing glaze, folks. I chose these colors because I have coordinating Distress Oxide colors in the store that match these. So I thought, how fun would this be to use all matching colors? Okay, so you see I put that too far apart. You can see that right there. If they were closer together, you would have a true tic-tac-toe board. But nevertheless, I press on. I don't like wasting a lot of time or product. So I stayed with it. I ran the course. I finished it. And it ended up being cute anyway. But it would be even cuter to do those 3 little hearts. I tell you, that would be really darling. So I was going to do Color Me Proud, like winning on this. But it didn't work. And so I just ended up doing something completely different with this, making it look like a grid instead. But man, a tic-tac-toe would be darling with those 3 hearts, and Color Me Proud would be really, really, really neat. Anyway, so I just punted. Color Me Happy, I think is what I ended up using. Yeah. Okay. I wanted the U in there. So now we're alternating flat, dimension, flat, dimension, flat. That turned out really cute. All right. So this next little card in this set, and by the way, this is a set of note cards, 5 note cards, and there's a surprise little box to hold it in at the end as well. Okay. So we're just going to go with basic stripes here. And as you can see, I'm using the Stamparatus again, moving it up instead of down this time. I've started at the bottom, moving up, and I only get 3 marks with this, but nevertheless it works out perfect because doing it this way creates even spacing, so that when I go in there and do my hand stamping, I actually have an even space to work with on each of these, and I know exactly where to go when I'm stamping it by hand. And you'll see here in just a minute once I start stamping by hand. But I just want to say that this little note card set would be perfect for a parent or a grandparent to create, to set these little notes in a lunchbox, or just to set them if your grandkids come for a visit. Pop it in their suitcase when they go home and put a little note in there. Write about your memories that you had while you were together. What a fun little thing to do for your grandkids. This would also work great for a parent to stick in a lunchbox for their kids. And you could take it even further. You could make this as a gift set for a teacher, using Color Me Proud on each of those. And a teacher could write a note in there about a student's accomplishment and how they are proud of the hard work that they've done. All right, so now you see here I am going in there, and I have created 2 lines, and I didn't technically get it. I should have used the green where I used the yellow if I was going to follow the same order, but it doesn't even really matter because these colors are so fun. There's not even, you don't have to follow the Roy G. Biv order on a rainbow color. Doesn't matter. These, technically it doesn't even really fall into much of a rainbow, but this was really, it turned out really cute anyway. So because I didn't use the green, I went ahead and put those 2 green stripes there. I'm going to put my yellow stripe right next to that other yellow. So I'm following 2 lines for each color, and it works out absolutely perfect because I have used that Stamparatus to evenly space all of my first marks. And now I know exactly where these need to go. And I did kind of turn the stamp, because there is a slight thicker end and a skinnier end, and I kind of tried to alternate that as much as I remembered to do. So we have 2 lines here for blue, and then we have a spot there at the top for the last line, which is purple. So there we have our background for that little note card. And I did use the second to the last, or excuse me, the second to the largest die for this card front. I believe these measure 3.5. If my memory serves me, the cards, once they're completed, measure 3.5. And I don't show it in this video. I wanted to kind of condense the amount of time spent on this video for you to have to watch this process. I cut out a lot. I edited quite a bit. But I did, basically I did was just pop these onto the front of those little card bases, which, like I said previously, measure 3 1/8 by 3 1/8. I took a piece of cardstock that measured 3 1/8 by 6 1/4, scored it at 3 1/8, and folded it in half, and that's how we got these card bases for this project. And they go perfectly right over the front of that card base to create the look that you have a shaped little note card. You could cut your base out with these dies and kind of skip the edge of that card base so that you don't die cut the edge of the card base to create a shape. You could do that, but this was easier. All right, here we go. We're going to create a cute little rainbow with these hearts. So we're done with the embossing part of this. We're now using Distress Oxides. All of these colors match the previous colors that I used in the embossing glaze. And you'll see with these last two cards that I didn't get them perfect. There's a little bit more room on one side than the other, but that's okay because these are really whimsical and just fun. I really honestly don't think anybody would even notice. All right, here go the sentiments again. So like I said earlier, cutting these out gives you so much versatility with this set. I used just about every stamp on this set except for just a couple of sentiments. I don't think I ended up using Excited or Proud. And I'm showing you these honeybee gem stickers. I'm using the rainbow ones, and folks, these colors coordinated so nice. I felt like I hit the jackpot. Perfectly matched. And I stick this all the way through here to kind of show you this process. I didn't necessarily have to, but I did. So I was very pleased at how nicely these gem stickers worked. I certainly appreciate your patience with me uploading this project. Normally I get this uploaded by Tuesday evening. It is Thursday, and you are probably expected a live from me this evening. But speaking of kids and grandkids and family, I've opted to spend some time with my family today. It's been a much needed break for me. So I decided I was going to take a break and just do one project this week. So in lieu of a live, I have put this project up for you to view at your own leisure. And we certainly do appreciate you stopping by to give us a like or a comment. It helps us, definitely helps a small business, especially when we're trying to move up in the algorithm on Facebook and on YouTube. So thank you. We appreciate it. Okay. Speaking of the small business, our little store is going to be opening so very soon. We are on the cusp of moving in, and we meet with the landlord tomorrow to go in and kind of talk about finalizing things. So tomorrow is that big day to kind of get caught up to speed as to where we are with the store, and talk about a move-in date. Yay, finally. All right. So this little, what do you guys call this little thing? I call it a little twirly-do. So I'm going to call it a little twirly-do. We're going to have a Donna-ism. I'm going to make up a word, a twirly-do. There's probably a word for it. Doesn't matter. This little twirly-do, I am stamping it in all the colors, and we're making another rainbow with this little twirly-do. You could do so much. You could do a heart. Yeah, you could do any kind of shape you wanted with this. It's so fun. And you'll see later, I discover that those little twirly-doos are so cute when you alternate them with the twirly up and the twirly down. I'll try to remember to point that out when I get to that point. So now we're just repeating colors so that they're even across on each side. And I do apologize during this video. I get my Midwest humid impacted hair. Look at that. It's crazy. The humidity here has been insane. It's been hot. And so, yep, excuse my frizz. I have naturally curly hair, so yeah, there's a little frizz on the screen from it. Frizzy head. I used to hate it. Now I embrace it. Okay. So now here we go. I'm just gonna assemble the sentiment on here, and I'm gonna throw those extra little hearts that I was planning on using on the other card. They're gonna go on here instead. And just a word of warning, speaking of grands again, they're about to hit my house. So if it gets a little noisy in the background, it's just children. They not only bring lots of noise, but they bring love and just activity and joy. So we're going to embrace the joy if it gets a little noisy here in a minute. We're going to have a fun day today. Okay. And once again, like I did with the hearts on the previous card, I'm just picking up those sticker gems, same set, the rainbow set from Honeybee, and I'm matching up the color at the end with the color that is above it. Mostly. I think they're, with the red, I did red on both of those, did I? And then at the end of the orange, I will put orange on the end of that twirly. Yeah, that's what I did. Mostly probably because I already have orange on the heart. So just add a little extra red because we only have one red. So, and it's funny, I couldn't decide which helped me more. The poker tool or the gem picker. I couldn't decide. My retractable tool or, yeah, which one helps the most? Who knows? I just kind of switched back and forth, whatever I fancied. Okay. Yay! Sorry about the moments going off screen. You know, sometimes you just get so involved you're not even looking up to see where you are. Hey, it happens, folks. And here's a last look at all these cards. How fun! I love them. So bright and cheerful. They would just put a smile on anybody's face. Let alone a sweet word of kindness on the inside. That would definitely brighten someone's day, to tell them how much they bring brightness to your life. Okay. And I'm just going to show you these cute little envelopes. I used some printed paper, copy print paper. It's a little heavier, but not too heavy, just enough to make an envelope on it. And I used my envelope punch board. And there's a little measuring guide on that punch board so that you know exactly how to make those envelopes. So we are memory keepers. Does that. Okay, now I'm showing you the box, and I'm showing you that I have cut it and scored it. And while I'm going to go through those measurements with you verbally here while I ink this up. So this piece measures 5 3/4 by 11 inches. And on the 5 3/4 side, I scored at 1 inch and 4 3/4 inch. On that 11-inch side, I score at 1 1/2, 2 1/2, 6 1/4, and 7 1/4. And I'm just ink blending this up. And just a heads up, folks, you're about to witness my boo-boo, my big no-no, my big, oh my goodness, what have I done? Why wasn't I paying attention? I'm going to warn you, crafting late at night does this to me. You'll know when you see it. It was one of those smack myself on the forehead. I really did. I smacked myself on the forehead. So before I end up with this boo-boo, I'm stamping this, and yeah, I re-stamped over it. That's what happens when it's late at night. You just basically get brave and bold, and you just go, it's whimsical. Whatever. So stamp, stamp, stamp hearts and twirly-doos all over the place. I think my grands are here. Whoop, whoop. My daughter and my grands. Okay. And next are the twirly-doos. So I basically show you this first part and kind of fast forward to the end where I have the whole thing completed. And I have no idea why this did not get edited. Sorry, folks, that was a little hot minute there. Or it feels that way for me, at least. And we're just stamping willy-nilly here and there, everywhere. And it is a little bit later that I discover back and forth, up and down on those twirlies are so, that it creates such a cute little pattern. And there it is at the end, all complete. And now I'm ready to show my real colors. Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes in crafting, and here you are about to see me do my big mistake. Okay? So what you should do is all of these little lines need to be cut up to that first score line. All of those little tiny squares, you cut them up to the first score line. Those are 1-inch squares, only up to the score line. Down there and up at the top of the box, okay? So that it folds up. So you glue those little tabs to the inside here, and that's what I'm going to show you. I did have to kind of trim it a little so that it would go and cover the side nicely. But guess what, folks? It didn't even matter because I just really messed this box up. But it wasn't a lost cause. I actually ended up fixing it. I was a little upset with myself. And you'll see how I remedied it at the end. You'll see I just made some bad choices on this box. And I was upset because I'm like, I know better. I've created so many 3D things. Being a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I did these things for class. I taught classes on this stuff. I was like, what is wrong with me? I was frustrated. It was late. I was tired, wasn't thinking. I cut the wrong tab. Grr. And then I made another bad choice. And then another bad choice. It just kept happening. So sometimes it happens, folks. Happens to me. Yep, here I am showing you that this is what you're really supposed to do. Yes, glue up those sides and get that adhered. I moved that other side out of the way so that when I brought this up, it wouldn't be tucked in and be difficult to get out. So I needed to trim it. I mitered it, actually. I took a little miter on that edge, and I want it to look even, so I mitered the other. And now we're back to gluing it up. So here we are. They're trying so hard to be quiet up there. Oh my gosh, that's so cute. Anyway, that's like probably one of the most next to impossible things for boys. I love them so much. And I have all grandsons. And they're such joy. Such a joy. Okay. Here we go. If you've never had the chance, you should go back and watch the chaos of crafting with them. All right, here we go. Do not do this. Do not cut that off. Leave it right there. It's the tab above it that needs to be cut off, folks, not that one. The one above it, cut that off. So I realized what I did. And I tried to remedy it by gluing them on the sides. No, No, that's not what we want. That is not what we want. No. So, yeah. No. So I have punched a hole there, and I'm creating, so I tuck it inside there so I can mark it as to where I need to go inside and punch it so that it lines up, because I'm going to use twine to create the closure for this. So now I know exactly where to go. I center that up and I punch a hole. If you can't see it very well, I apologize. But there we have it. So now we're fast forwarding to how I fixed all of my silly mistakes. And I took this piece and I measured the sides of my box, and I'm inking it up and inking it up. And I'm going to stamp it up. And I do my best to line up the stamp with how I had it before, but it wasn't perfect, but it was fine. Even if it wasn't lined up perfectly, it looked so much better than what I had. I was happy to have figured out how to do this. So here's what I did. I measured how those tabs, how long they should have been. They should have been 1 inch on each end. And how wide my box was, and I measured it out, I scored it, and I inked it up, stamped it up, glued it in, and I fixed it. Yes, I did. I fixed it. I'm showing you there. That's how I'm going to glue it in. I'm just going to glue it right on in there. And I actually dipped that yellow into the ink, and I inked up the inside. Oh, well. You'll see in the picture how you can see that ink on the inside. No big deal. Okay, so stamping up everything, and yep, I'm going to glue this on. And we are going to feel a whole lot better. I had a sense of relief. It wasn't how I wanted it to look. It does interfere with that nice fold over, but regardless, this was actually a very nice fix. You just got to make sure that you cut that to just a smidgen smaller on the inside so that you can fold it over. Otherwise, it'll interfere with the fold. And now I'm going to cut these short. These tabs are going to get cut short and mitered so that they will go down inside of there. Yeah, you see that yellow? So I'm a little off screen, sorry. You see I'm kind of fiddling with it to determine how much I need to cut off. So probably a good halfway. You just fiddle with it, and I mitered it again at the top, and now it goes in there. Woo woo. So you do want that. You don't want that to be open. It just doesn't look right, and it doesn't create a very nice finished look for your box if you were to cut that tab off completely. It just, yeah, it doesn't look right. So see, there you go. Now, now it looks better. The sides are going to look a whole lot better. And here we go. We're gluing this on. Trying to get that lined up. I did okay in some areas and I didn't in others, and in the end I was fine with it. It looked a whole lot better than the bad decisions that I had made earlier. So, yeah. Just because we're older doesn't mean we don't make bad decisions. And honestly, it doesn't look bad at all. If I didn't tell you, you might not have even noticed. So taking glue to the box does work a little bit better than taking glue to the strip. That's just a piece of advice there. Mostly because you know exactly where you want your glue to hit. Okay, that is it. And now our little box works. Woohoo! Looks really nice. And I think I'm going to show you how much better it looks. I think I do. Oh, nope. We're skipping to twine. I'll give you the measurement on the twine too in the description as well. But basically, I just tie it in a knot right there at that hole so it will poke up through the top. So you need that knot to poke through. And then that way, it will stay in place once you pull that through. Thread that through. And you don't have to use double. You can use a single. I used double. And see here how that knot pulls through and it holds it into place. It's a different way of attaching. And it's cute. Makes it a little easier for the recipient as well. Okie doke, there's our box. And I do show you a picture here of how they all fit inside. And with that nice little yellow on the right there. And here's a last look at our project. How fun, how cute, how happy. Thanks again, guys, for stopping by. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.